Compassion is a weakness your enemies will not share.
That's why it's so important. It separates us from them. It separates us from them. It's us from them.
There's been several different adaptations of Batman brought to life on the big screen, each having their own quirks and personal flair to offer to the audience. But one thing that they drastically differ in is their stance on the no-kill rule. Now, the comic version of Batman has had a definitive no-kill rule for over 80 years, with his stance on not killing being his most defining feature, and testing this rule has led to a lot of good, compelling stories. Meanwhile, the films have had different variations on this rule and when Bruce adopts it. The Keaton Batman didn't start with this rule, instead being driven by vengeance and a desire to kill the man who killed his parents. It wouldn't be until later in his life that he adopts the no-kill rule, after realising that with Joker dead he had no reason to keep killing and was only doing so to justify his revenge. A revenge he no longer needed and that had consumed his entire life. And so he chooses to stop killing and tries to help Dick not go down the same path of vengeance he went down.
So you're willing to take a life. You make the kill. But your pain doesn't die with Harvey, it grows. Until one terrible morning you wake up and realize that revenge has become your whole life.
Then you have Batfleck. This version of Batman had a no-kill rule, but after decades of loss and betrayal he has given into his vengeance and rage, feelings that only grow worse as his desire for revenge grows as well. It's not until Superman, a being he despised, sacrifices himself to save the planet, that Bruce begins to feel hopeful again, choosing once again to apply his no-kill rule to honor Clark's memory.
Men are still good. We fight, we kill, we betray one another, but we can rebuild. We can do better.
Pattinson is the last adaptation of the Batman for the big screen, and he follows the no-kill rule pretty strictly. He doesn't try to kill anyone, although his reckless pursuit of vengeance does cause situations that could endanger others, an attitude he himself recognises at the end and decides to fix, meaning that hopefully in the next film he will take even greater care to ensure that people aren't put in life-threatening situations due to his actions.
Vengeance won't change the past, mine or anyone else's. I have to become more. People need hope, to know someone's out there for them.
And then we have the Batman played by Christian Bale in the Christopher Nolan films. After Bruce is robbed of his vengeance when Joe Chill is killed, Rachel lectures him on the difference between justice and vengeance. And now, feeling lost and disgusted with himself, he begins to wander the earth to find a sense of purpose, coming across Henry Ducard and the League of Shadows. After progressing through the League, Bruce is asked to execute a murderer to prove he is committed to the League, but Bruce refuses to. Not necessarily because he is against killing, but because he is against individuals causing death to people without fair trial. If someone is to die, it's because a court of law has decided that this is needed for justice to prevail, not because one person or one group of people decided to take the law into their own hands and ended up causing someone to die. This Batman pretty firmly establishes this rule right here.
I will go back to Gotham and I will fight men like this, but I will not become an executioner.
After being told that Gotham has become too corrupt and they will need to execute people there as well, Bruce then decides that the best way to stick to his principle is to launch a flaming hot metal rod into a bunch of flammable objects and barrels of gunpowder, causing the palace to explode and killing a large amount of the League of Shadows, Ra's al Ghul, and I guess the prisoner as well. I mean, he was chained up, surrounded by people wanting to kill him, and even if he got out he would die of hypothermia due to not having sufficient gear to survive the harsh icy climate outside the palace. Not the best implementation of this rule, although I suppose you could argue that he didn't intend to kill anyone here. This was all just accidental. So after accidentally killing several dozens of people and saving one, possibly, Bruce then returns back to Gotham and begins his quest into becoming Batman. And for the most part he sticks to his rules of killing, refusing to kill any of Falcone's henchmen or Crane, despite Crane having previously drugged him and nearly killed Rachel. When finally confronting Henry Ducard, the real Ra's al Ghul, he dispatches all of his soldiers and then tries to stop him. And here's where he fucks up again, and says one of the stupidest lines I can think of in a superhero movie.
I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you.
This is a stupid line for two main reasons. The first one is that it completely goes against why he did what he did in the palace. He could have just chosen to leave and banish himself from the League for refusing to kill the man. But no, he chooses to save this murderer because letting him die wouldn't be justice.
You want to fight criminals? This man is a murderer.
This man should be tried.
Those who are guilty should be made guilty by a system, not by one man. So him choosing to let Ra's die is robbing the system of the chance to hold him to justice, and it puts Bruce in the same position as the League at the start of the movie. Secondly, Bruce can't act like this is something he can just wipe his hands of any responsibility and just let nature take its course, because he causes this tram crash to happen. He gave Gordon the Batmobile and told him to target the supports for the tram. He is directly responsible for this. So if Ra's is to die here, it will be because Bruce directly caused his death to happen. Yet, Bruce acts like this isn't his responsibility and just lets him die, completely going against his sense of morality and justice established throughout the movie. Moving on from this, we then get The Dark Knight, and this film manages to play this role completely straight as far as I can tell. The only ambiguous scene that I can think of is the scene where he slams the top of the garbage truck into the ceiling, but the cab of the garbage truck is quite thick, so there would be a lot of crumple zones to take the brunt of the impact, and it's possible they ducked down to avoid further injury. It's never mentioned that Batman killed any of the Joker's henchmen during this chase scene, so we can assume he just incapacitated him. In terms of major events that challenge his no killing rule, for a start he refuses to let the Joker die despite all the chaos caused by him, refusing to run him over and later saving him from falling to his death, ensuring this rule stays consistent. And then we have the scene with Harvey. It's made very clear that Bruce didn't want Harvey to die, and it was an accidental death when he tried to save Gordon's son. But Bruce still robbed the system of its chance to do justice, and he tarnished his message, with Harvey's death making him feel he failed as Batman and forcing him into retirement. After Bane appears and starts to terrorize the city, once again the rule stays consistent up until the final act, where things get a bit blurry. Now, as I've already mentioned, I count Bruce as responsible for Raz's death because Bruce's plan and his decision to give Gordon his Batmobile directly led to his death. And there's a similar thing here. During the confrontation with Bane and Talia, when Bruce is about to be finished off by Bane, Selina bursts into the room using the Batcycle and blasts him away using the cannons, killing him. Now, I know that Bruce didn't ask her to do this, but he still gave her that Batcycle, and he doesn't really seem to show any sort of concern over the fact that his tools were responsible for Bane's death. After Bruce sends her to chase down Talia, Selina also proceeds to shoot at some of the tumblers full of people that blow up and then get covered in flames. So that is some more deaths that she is technically responsible for, but is using his equipment and planning. And finally, we have when he tries to stop Talia from driving off with the reactor. He decides to try and disable the truck by shooting missiles at it, and in the process he kills her passenger and causes her to later die as well. Now, I get that it's at the end of the movie and things need to wrap up, but he shows no reaction to this whatsoever. Before, he retired to wallow in self-pity and grief for several years because he accidentally killed someone. Here, he just straight up murders 2 people and he seems to have no trauma from it. He just goes on to live the rest of his life with Selina in happiness. Overall, Nolan's Batman was given a slight twist on the character, making him someone who is more against the idea of individuals deciding the fate of others instead of letting the society be the judge. But even with this take that allowed some flexibility with the no-kill rule, this version of Batman completely fails several times to uphold his own moral standards, whether it be technical loopholes or even just a straight up disregard for his principles. And as such, as enjoyable as these movies are, I still view this trilogy as an incoherent mess with a Batman whose philosophy is about as well constructed as the fight scenes. Thanks for watching, lads and lasses. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing and checking out some of my other videos. Sharing always helps, and if you're feeling really generous, please consider my Patreon or YouTube membership. I also have a Twitter and occasionally I do live streams. But most of all, I just hope you had a great day and hopefully I will see you in the next video.